Hi, welcome to Video C. Today we're going to look at an example dashboard. This is our first draft of a dashboard, and it's for Professor Q's organic chemistry class. And this is at Big State University, and it is a early report from the first month of the semester where we only have a couple of quizzes. And so here we see that the average quiz grade for the class. Here we see the quiz grade distribution across those two quizzes so far this semester. And then we see the students' ID numbers here in the left column on both of these charts. This chart gives us the last two quiz grades, which is only quiz 1 and quiz 2, and this one gives the quiz average. As the semester goes on, we have more data. So quiz 3 and quiz 4, we see some changes. Definitely quiz 3 appears to be a little more difficult, or students had external causes that kept them from performing as well. We see the distribution has changed, and we see, that since quiz 3 was lower here, it's not surprising that we're seeing lower grades among the individual students. And as we move on into March and we have more quizzes, we see again the distribution changing. Here we have quiz 6 and quiz 7 and the average across those 7 quizzes. And here we have a changed distribution again among the quiz grades for the semester. Now, we'll pause here for a second and ask you which students are struggling based on those dashboards. And what you might say if I asked you to just think about it is that was too much data and you couldn't point to a single student in the amount of time that you saw it. So if we want to improve retention and data understanding, it is often a very good thing to flag. This is maybe one of the more obvious points that I will make over the course of this little mini lesson. Right. So here we've flagged the 70% line because that is usually in US colleges what a failing grade, the failing grade threshold. So anything below 70 is considered a failing, and anything above 70 is considered passing. And we would flag then how many students have failed in these two quizzes that have been given so far. And then we would flag the individual student. As we move on to quiz 3 and quiz 4, we see that we have, more failing grades, which is not surprising because we already saw, right, that even though quiz 3 had an average of 82, that is getting closer for an average to a failing grade threshold. And then we flagged the students that are, performing either below passing or below average in the two column charts that we have here with the quiz grades and the quiz average. Right? And then as we move on to the third report, a few weeks later when we have quiz 6 and quiz 7 in, again, we see a different distribution of passing and failing grades, and we flagged how the students are performing on the individual quizzes. And again, which student has the lowest performing quiz is flagged here as well. So now we might be better able to quickly identify which students are involved, but we don't necessarily know what to do about it. Quiz 3 is the lowest quiz that we saw. And we have 2 students in particular that do appear to be struggling, and we could go in and look at their individual scores a little more carefully across all of the quiz grades that we've seen so far. And we'll see, student 17 has a 45, student 21 has several grades that are either, close to that failing threshold or below that failing threshold. But this dashboard doesn't tell us what they need to do differently, right? It just tells us how they're performing. And so I would ask you to hold that with yourself for a few minutes and kind of think about what would we need to know in order to make these students perform better? Because we could assume that they're just not trying. But at least in some cases, if somebody is ponied up the cash to go to college, a lot of them are motivated, and that That failing grade doesn't mean that they're not trying, right? It means that they're not doing so in effective fashion. So, what do we need to change about either the student's approach or the student's context to improve the learning for that student? That's the problem that we need to be thinking about when we're designing visualizations.